Now we get to the final question of the show. We didn't have a crazy amount of topics today, but this is the viral question that's going wild on the internet, and everybody's talking about it. And it just seems like the dumbest question. But regardless, whenever it gets asked on all these shows, we get these really interesting dialogues. And I didn't show this to you yet, Justin. I don't know if you saw it and already prepared an answer, or you're thinking about it on the fly. But I wanted to see if we agreed or disagreed on this topic. So the question is, in a fight, and there weren't proper parameters, but I'm going to make some. No weapons, obviously. Who wins? 100 men versus one gorilla.
So it's funny that you're asking me this, because I haven't looked up the answers, but there was one similar to it about 5 years ago, and you may remember it. One person versus how many kindergartners? All right.
No, I don't remember this.
So, yeah, it was a similar question. It's like, how many kindergartners, if they all rushed you at once, would it take to kill you? And, dude, like, there's all these crazy breakdowns, just like they're doing on this one. Now, here's the thing, and this is what it comes down to. All right. It's okay. So, obviously, not drug induced.
Right.
Okay. But here's the big thing: fear induced. If I'm with 100 guys, we're about to take out 100 gorillas, and Huzefa, let's say you and your crew, like, all right, we're going to send the first wave, and 20 guys rush him, and the gorilla just fucking rips your guys' heads off and arms off and limbs off, those other 80 people might run for the hills. And that's kind of what the debate came down to. Are these fearless human beings? Because if we can rush a gorilla 100 men at a time, like 300 style, we have a chance. But if we're going to, like you see in the movies when it's like 5 versus 1, and then one guy goes, and then the good guy beats the one guy, and then the second guy goes, there's absolutely no chance. But I do think 100, 200-pound men, that's 100, 200-pound men, if they all gang piled on the gorilla at one time, I think we get the gorilla. But does the gorilla have to stay in a confined area? Can he run free? Are we in a football field 100 yards by 100 yards for him to roam? Or is he in a tight square to where, you know what I mean? And that's what the variables came down to. It's like, and that's what it came down to the kindergarten. So I don't know, man. I think it just depends how much fear is being run through and what are the circumstances with the gorilla. Is he angry? Is he malicious? Does he have a lot of space to run around? If he has a lot of space to run around, we'll say a football field, or even 100 yards by 100 yards, I think the gorilla picks everybody off one by one until there's no people left.
Okay, let me give my response. So yes, these are all questions that I thought of as well. All right, what are the circumstances? So I'm going to assume that it's in a field and not a confined area, because that would just be, I feel like that's more of a biased condition, like saying it's in a confined area or an arena or something like that. So let's just say you have ample room to maneuver and whatnot. Then obviously they didn't say what type of men. So the men that I'm choosing is going to be 100 Francis Ngannou. So we're going to have 100 Francis Ngannou clones, right? So let's say weighing in somewhere between 250 and 280 pounds. All these guys are trained fighters. They know how to fight. They know how to attack, and they know the vulnerable areas. Then obviously, if they can coordinate a strategy, we have so many ways that they can outthink the gorilla. For example, they could come up with strategies to tease the gorilla, tire the gorilla out. And I actually think a substantially less number of Francis Ngannou's would defeat the gorilla, maybe even 10, maybe even 20. But I think you could come up with a superior game plan, and obviously some would have to be sacrificed. But I think those are guys that would be able to overcome their fear. And it is probably person dependent for sure, right? Like if you have a bunch of people that can't walk, okay, that's a different thing. But so we're saying the best of the best, the most able-bodied humans. And I think that's kind of the point of the question. And in that case, I think they could find a way, because essentially in the different encounters, if you can at one point, let's say, disable one of his eyes, then he's down to one eye. If you can disable the other eye, the gorilla's done, right? If you can disable both the eyes at some point with the bum rush, I think the gorilla's majorly done. And then you can inflict an injury after that, maybe to the genitalia, where now he's losing a lot of blood, and eventually the gorilla will just bleed out and die. So I think in this scenario, or some variation thereof, I think the humans are going to just be able to, that's what our advantage is in any fight. It's the intellect. So being able to coordinate, cooperate, and create a game plan, I think it's a done deal. The 100 people would 100% win. The folks that are saying, and the other thing that you have to mention, and Ben Askren talked about this as well, what about cardio? For a gorilla to get through 100 men, is insane, right? That would take a great amount of energy. There's going to come a point where the gorilla is going to get tired, and the remaining men, even if it's 50 left or whatever, they're going to destroy the gorilla. The other, what was the other thing? Now, so this is before I looked up everything. Then I actually looked up stuff because you know me, I'm a numbers guy, I'm a math guy. So I wanted to see the weight and strength differential of a gorilla and humans. Now, a silverback, let's say, weighs in around 400 or 500 pounds. Let's just say, for argument's sake, it's a 600-pound silverback gorilla. It's the biggest of the silverbacks, okay? Because we're taking the biggest of humans as Francis Ngannou, like most powerful. So let's say we got a 600-pound gorilla. And then on top of that, they said that the push strength is for a gorilla, it's around 1,700 pounds. Okay. So a gorilla could, I can't remember if it was deadlift or bench press, 1,700 pounds. So let's just round it up to 2,000 versus Francis Ngannou could maybe bench like 300 or 400 pounds. So we've got a 1-to-5 to 1-to-6 strength ratio, which is huge, but it's not insane. We're not talking about a 1-to-100 strength ratio. So you got 1-to-6. I'm not saying 6 versus 6 people would then be able to take the gorilla, but you got 100. Okay, that totally like balances out that strength differential, the weight differential, not even close. So yes, of course, a gorilla would obliterate any single person. But if you take the strongest silverback gorilla and the strongest of 100 men, aka Francis Ngannou, who also knows how to fight, done deal. Next question. This is case closed. The men win for sure. Western also says the gorillas gas as well. Yes, I agree. And that's pretty much it. Let us know what you guys think of the chat. All right. Do you think we've kind of reached a joint conclusion? I think we both agree, right?
Yes.
It's funny. I saw this other guy go on a rant being like, this is the dumbest question of all time. He goes, it's this simple. If the people have weapons, the people win. If they don't, the gorilla wins. Done. And I thought that was kind of dumb. He was some like political weird show guy who was answering. And I just thought it was like the dumbest, shallowest analysis I've ever seen. So there's the real analysis. That's what we think. And let us know what you guys think as well. Oh, Western says, Justin, we lost you on camera, but hopefully you can still hear us. Western says, Justin, do you know how much Ngannou benches? And if you guys don't know, Ngannou trains with Justin.
Ngannou doesn't do as an MMA fighter, we don't really max out on bench, so I can't really tell you. I've seen him lift weights. He does like compound lifts at the PI and stuff, but it's never like you never do like a straight bench press. 35 pounds on for me to bench, and that's as high as it would go. Same thing with the squat rack, put like 225 on, because again, when you start putting on more weight, you're putting on more mass. Francis is already huge. He's already strong. He doesn't need to gain any more weight. So it's more about tightening those muscles than actually trying to put on mass.
By the way, just a fun fact, Justin, did you know who Jeff Molina is?
Jeff Molina. Why does that sound familiar?
He's a former UFC fighter. He was in the crowd.
Yeah. He came out as like being bisexual or something.
Yeah,
I remember.
I think now he's got like
there was some weird situation. Yeah, with Jeff Molina, like a sex tape of his got released, and it was something like that. That's how I know him.
And then he got caught up in a whole gambling thing where he was coached by James Krause, and he just did an interview with Ariel Helwani. I'm going to make a breakdown of it later this weekend. He did a whole explanation of what really happened. And I thought it was really interesting because he got hammered for this one little gambling thing. He got like a 3-year suspension. But anyways, the fun fact is Jeff Molina has been asked to be released now or been cut from the UFC. And guess where he's going?
Brave.
Nope. BKFC.
BKFC. Oh shit. Well, I hope it works out for him because bare knuckle is a lot different than most people think. It's a lot different than I thought. So I hope it works out for him.
Fair enough. But he's very confident. He says his style is going to match up really well. So I can't wait to see it. But anyways,
that's what I said too. That's what I said too.
Well, massive respect to him and to you and to anybody who goes into bare knuckle, because I think most UFC fighters, as tough as they are, don't want to get in there and sling some bare fists because of all the risk, the trauma to the face, the broken hands. But anyways, that is it, guys.